Join channel here over at subscribe to the various other links. So this one image is a pretty good a précis of Star Wars because she's wearing the tight bandages, and then she's wearing the loose flowing clothing, but then she has some skin exposed. Well, you go, oh, well, she's warm, sandy environment, so you want everything covered, but you also want airflow. Well, the people in the Middle East have mastered that with the Saudis. They have just essentially a white dress and a head thing to keep the sun off, and it allows air circulation. It's as simple and genius as you can come up with. You don't want something tight close to the body because it would just make you hot and gather sweat, and you'd have to wash that thing every night, where the loose flowing clothes are going to allow the air to move around. So what does Disney come up with? They combine the two, and they also have skin exposed. It doesn't make any sense, and it never should have made it past editing, but there you have it. There's the other thing with Disney. If you go back to 2015, you remember the first 20 minutes where she's exploring spaceships. So she's out in the desert. She's wearing sunglasses, I think. Fair enough. And then she goes into a dark spaceship, and she has a headlamp. Fair enough. But she keeps the sunglasses on, and she's in the dark with sunglasses and has a headlamp. And that should have got to editing, and they should have said, oh, hey, we're going to have to CGI this to make the glasses change automatically to light, because why would she combine that? It's little things like that when you start looking at it, you start picking across all these little logical faults, and you realize, oh, this movie's not very good. Well, how is this a $300 million movie, but it feels like the editors are all 28-year-old oh-so randoms who don't know anything about anything, and you look at Disney and you go, oh, that's because that's probably the case. So Disney killed Star Wars. Can't say killed in the titles, have to come up with something else. The religion of Disney is dying. That's why the left wing gets so mad about the fandom menace, and the same for Comicsgate, because they're rejecting this globalist propaganda. In my best Kamala Harris voice, Disney has the rights to some of Star Wars, which is set in the stars where there's a war. So Disney has to do something with the show because they paid $4 billion for it, and they need to make it pay off. And after the Disney trilogy that started in 2015 that fell apart at the end, they decided to try to keep the interest going with the Disney Plus streaming shows, some of which were very expensive and have in total lost money because Disney lost $1 billion last year. And some snarky comment in one of the videos talking about Star Wars goes, oh, you pay for it with your Disney Plus subscription. They're doing just fine. It's like, well, I don't pay for anything. And they're not doing just fine because they lost $900 million because of woke movies. And that's the short answer, is that the woke ship has definitely sailed. It run its course for a few years where people pretended to care about it, but they have firmly sent a signal to Hollywood and gaming. Now you're seeing this stuff come up. What's it? The Ghosts of Shushami or something? They're delaying that because they realize that people are talking about it, and it has the woke label attached to it. So they're going to have to scale back production on it and try to delay it until all this stuff dies down, because it's in the same boat as Star Wars, where they're hoping that the heat dies down for it, but I don't think that's going to happen, and people just aren't interested in a lot of this kind of stuff. Feminism, diversity, and whatever buzzwords that the soy people use, that Hollywood and its BlackRock institutional investors, whoever's attached to it, think are so important. And people get on social media and they virtue signal. That means they say one thing and they do another. Nobody really gives a shit about any of this stuff. But it's free to say it on Twitter, which is, like I said yesterday with Joe Glass, where the disconnect comes in. Twitter's free. You can virtue signal all you want, but when it comes time to pay $17 for a movie, you're going to find yourself you just don't have the interest in it. The movie comes and goes, and you didn't even know it was in the theater, and that's the case. That's going to be the case with a lot of Hollywood for now. Because if you're paying for these Disney movies, whether in the theater or Disney Plus, it has to have a good story, and woke storytelling is just lame. Diversity is enough with diversity. People don't give a shit about diversity. But Daisy Ridley was in those movies, and the logical conclusion would be, oh, we'll just keep the movies going about her rebuilding the Jedi Order or whatever, and she can go up against the Hutts or something, or some other threat will be on the horizon, a new Darth Vader type, Except Disney is aware of what this buzz is about social media, and they know that their streaming shows bombed. And honestly, if they could get I think there was every once in a while there's a push to get those Phantom Menace channels off the air because they go, oh, they don't matter, they don't have any influence whatsoever, but we also need to demonetize them and get them off YouTube. Like, I hope you do, because that means they go to Rumble and Odyssey, and then I mean, if there's no reason for you to be on YouTube, it's like you wouldn't be on YouTube anymore. You give it up and just go right to Rumble and Odyssey. So they tell us Star Wars is for everyone, and they show an image of a group of a bunch of nons, people that weren't in the people that look nothing like the original Star Wars. Well, the original Star Wars was for everyone, as was the original Lord of the Rings, as was for the original all these kind of things. And they all made sense because the people fit together organically, because life isn't Reddit. I think it's a little bit more like 4chan. So the new Disney Star Wars doesn't look like classic Star Wars, where they race swapped all the characters because some Frankfurt School babble about equity and representation. So the shows are all blacks, Asians, and not the original Euro characters. The only problem is the audience doesn't want a woke, diverse cast. They want it to look like the original because that's what got their attention in the first place. They don't want a bait and switch where you have the name Star Wars or Rings of Power, and you look at it and you're like, what is this dog shit? Oh, it's woke. Yeah, we don't have those values. Oh, Hugo Boss says what? Again, that doesn't change anything. I mean, whether it's true or not, a totally accurate assessment to call someone who wants the original that. Trump, he did a Madison Square. Hillary said he did a Madison Square Garden thing, and it was like 1939, and he's going to invade Poland. And people look at these people and you go, "You're just insane. The things you're saying, you don't even believe." You say that about everyone from, I mean, as far back as you want to go. Anyone with an R after their name who's running for office, they compare to. They think he's going to invade Austria. So people don't watch this diverse AIDS and monkeypox because most of the audience doesn't value those things that the lizards in Hollywood say they value, and they're not licking their eyelids or flicking their tails. The shows are not selling because they're woke. We're telling them to just make them look more like the original. And Disney says, no, representation and diversity matters, except that the SJWs you're making the shows for don't watch the movies. So there's something wrong with your business model. It turns out people in general hate diversity, and they really hate feminism. Feminism is all the way over. Oh, I mean, now, because the whole kind of BLT things, the T in the BLT thing, have kind of pushed the women out of the way a little bit, and it seems to have. It seems like the snake is finally eating its tail. It's bizarre when Feminist Frequency was still on YouTube, and there's more of the T people who were taking over the show. It's like, whoa, this is freaking awesome. By all means, accelerate. So no, people are not into diversity and feminism. It's just people are not comfortable saying it for some reason, I guess. Probably because they'll get dogpiled on social media and get kicked off all these platforms. And you can do that. You can go after people all you want, but it doesn't get people to watch the shows. And in fact, when Alyssa Mercante is writing her Kotaku articles talking about why, I don't know, the Acolyte failed and all this kind of stuff, and essentially blaming the fans and the customers, all that does is make things worse. I'm not the lack of self-awareness with the left-wing people, where they double down and the actors go online from Acolyte and all these, I don't know, Ashoka, all these other shows, and they're calling the customers, istophobic, intolerant, bigots, just the worst things in the world. It's like, and they also love to refer themselves as marginalized, but they're so disconnected from reality because the customers, the audience, the fans, but their customers, they don't believe in any of that marginalization stuff. Like, oh, you're a millionaire actor in a first world country. None of that Frankfurt School buzzword actually help. But the left is so deep in an echo chamber, and the left wing media, the Kotaku, the IGN, they're all saying this stuff, and they have no idea. Like, if you were at Disney and smart, you'd tell these actors and producers and directors to kindly shut the F up and start kissing some audience ass and go do those cosplay conventions and stuff, and go there and start signing autographs and put a big fake smile on your face. But that's just beyond them. They can't even conceive of such a thing. Anyway, so Disney had planned on their streaming Star Wars shows, which they've done like 8, I think, so far, doing much better than they have because overall, I think they've lost more money than they've made. They've had like a couple successes, but then they've had majority bombs, and the net, I think, is in the negative because they did lose $1 billion. And I think, oh, well, people will love a black trans lesbian in everything, and everyone will have an A cup because they hate breasts for some reason, or everyone's going to be a girl boss. Like, who's that purple-haired Admiral Holdo who accelerates her ship to light speed because energy or something equals mass velocity squared. It's the square part that is the magic of how much energy is involved in something. And when you square light speed, it's a very large number. Oh, okay. I mean, you're true. Yeah, you're right on the physics of that. I mean, if you could reach light speed, but why didn't you do this before? Oh, Nazi says what? Why don't you just have a robot do it or program the ship to do it? She's got blue hair. She was in Jurassic Park. Bigot. Yeah, this is really, really dumb. Yep, and we're doing it anyway, and then we're going to skip through light speed. Oh, and then the gas tanks run dry? Well, they run on like antimatter, so it'll last like to the end of the universe. But no, the gas tanks are going to run dry. Okay, I mean, I'm assuming the ship is like running off chambered black holes and anti-quarks and strange matter captured in magnetic bottles and whatnot. No, it's just ethanol mixed, a little isooctane, high test, but we're out of gas basically. Oh, it's weird because usually in canon you set up things in the story with previous stories. Yeah, we're not doing any of that because girl power or something. That's totally lame. Like, your next movies after this are going to bomb. No, they're not. They're going to do. But Solo lost $300 million. Okay. You got me there. You got us there. Yeah, I think Disney's in deep, 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 deep poop. Anyway, so nobody wants a girl boss, and Disney was wrong about their streaming shows doing well, but they have to follow up with the big screen Star Wars, because otherwise, what's the point of paying $4 billion for Star Wars? Well, keep in mind, they didn't buy all the rights to Star Wars, like Rings of Power. They bought a limited rights to a certain time period. Lucas still retains rights, I think, to his old stuff. I'm sure he has no interest in going back to it, which is a shame. I mean, people would look at Lucas Star Wars and go, "Oh my God, we owe him an apology." But their star, Daisy Ridley, unfortunately has a vagina and is a space god, Mary Sue. So the idea of super vagina juggling a mountain when she's not like doing backflips in space, it's just like Empire Strikes Back. Luke trained with Yoda. It's basically the same thing. Teaching a diverse cast of little affirmative action hires means that the movie is not going to be a hit. You just had Madam Web came out, was a bomb. The Marvels came out, that was a bomb. The Eternals was a bomb. Black Widow was a bomb. Probably a bunch of other girl power movies that I don't... Terminator, Charlie's Angels. Yeah, that's like a half dozen girl power movies off the top of my head that have lost money because woke doesn't sell anymore. So Disney is looking at all this, and finally they're starting to realize that they painted themselves into a woke corner, and they're just sodomizing themselves because there's no way in hell in this political climate that Vagina Space Jesus and her diversity sidekicks make a movie that can do more than break even. And for Disney, that's a very serious loss because it's not just the money loss, it's the brand damage. Solo was a bomb, and most of their streaming has been a bomb as well. People love Mandalorian until they fire Gina Carano. And then what happened there? People now associate Star Wars, rightfully, with woke, and Disney, basically with Epstein Island. Theoretically, Disney could turn this around. They could kill the diversity, return to the vibe of 77, where people look like they belong to each other, that they were part of an organic tribe, because the suspension of disbelief only goes so far when everything we see from Hollywood looks exactly the same. A pox lesbian female lead, some diverse sidekicks, girl boss, and evil blonde characters. People don't accept the lizard narrative because we know how awesome we are. So if you just kind of turn the cast around, people would accept it because the people of the light are the ones who go explore and do great things at great risk to go up mountains and go to the frozen wastelands. And, I can say this, it's deep enough in the video. I'm sure the SJWs have dropped out, where things have to have verisimilitude. It's guys like Elon Musk who are building rockets, and that upsets SJWs quite a bit, where where the diversity government agency, NASA, has had some issues. And Musk's, what is it, SpaceX, who hires the best, is able to do things that NASA is not able to do because NASA believes in woke. So Euros have always really been insane for adventure, even when it's been incredibly dangerous. It's like the adage is, there's a joke on social media about why did they climb the mountain, and the answer is, well, because it's there. And then they ask a bunch of nons about that. Why would they climb a mountain? And these people, these mountain climber Euros, go to some area and they ask somebody about the mountain. They go, no, we never go up there. So why would we? And logically it makes sense as well. Why would you? And so why does the Englishman go up the mountain? Because it's there. That's crazy. Yeah, but they do it anyway. It's like it's just a different mindset. But it's why movies like Star Wars worked. Because even when something's incredibly dangerous, it's believable that Han, Luke, and Leia would go off in the Millennium Falcon on these crazy adventures to fight the forces of darkness and redeem the people who could be saved, and in that case, Darth Vader. We accept it because Luke is blonde. It fits. Of course, in the diversity remakes, they destroyed all of that. They undid, or as the Frankfurt School says, they deconstructed everything that Lucas built, because that was one of the reasons they bought some of the rights. They could not allow a blonde male hero with a biblical name to remain a heroic figure, and the audience responded when Solo came out, and it was an absolute bomb, even though it wasn't that bad. It was a fine enough movie. Everything was in the right place. People were just burned out on Disney, and those two lead actors were not the right actors for the role. They were too smarmy and too short, actually. So Disney is gonna put off the Daisy Ridley movie until the heat dies down. But the heat dying down is like, as long as Disney has streaming shows that are diverse aids, the heat's not going to die down, but the interest will die down, and it definitely will. The interest in Star Wars is already over. It's a dead brand, and they would be better off selling it to Apple. I don't know who could afford to buy a $1 billion thing like that, but another big, I don't know if Netflix or Amazon or Apple could figure out a way to finance it to do something else with it. But I mean, Disney is fully invested with Marvel and Star Wars, and they have the rights to Indiana Jones and Pirates of the Caribbean. And you look at what they own the IP rights to, and you're like, you guys should be printing money, and they're not. And in the next few years, you're going to watch the fall of the House of Disney. From one Walt Disney to whoever's going to be in charge of it in the next few years, it's going to be some woke ideologue who gets on a Zoom call and talks about their BLT kids that they gave cross-sex hormone to, puberty blockers, and then ultimately removed functioning tissue from. And they literally did that. And yeah, we're making this is going to be the gayest Star Wars ever. They said this on Zoom calls. And you look at them, 99% of the audience, we don't have a problem with gay people. I say that, I'm totally honest, don't have a problem with them at all. But it just, we don't understand it. It's not, and we want to see normal relationships. Should have said straight relationships. See, it slips out, it's like, that's organic. That's how things slip out. It's like people want to see, boy and girl go off, fight the dragon, get married, have kids. And Piers Anthony did that really well, where he continues the family storyline. And those books are just fun, mediocre books that made millions of dollars because it was that boy, girl, dragon. Their kids go off on new adventures, and then their kids go off on new adventures. It's just really formulaic, but it's organic, and people are willing to pay money for that. And they're not going to make Piers Anthony books into movies because he was a little too much of a pervert. As was Heinlein, unfortunately, which as an adult, I look back on those authors like, I guess I'm done. I just can't go back and read those guys. It's just a little too perverted when you get to be an adult and realize these guys had some serious issues with women, and young women at that. Kind of creepy. Anyway, Star Wars is a dead brand, and I hope we get to see it. And and watch the SJWs jump in front of the $150 billion company to defend Star Wars. It's why they went after Zach sitting in his car with a cell phone talking about comics, and why they lost their mind and threatened to delete him. You go, this is crazy. And then you look at the people and you're like, oh, they believe in this ideology. They're in this castles made of sand where the slightest puff of wind causes it all to collapse. And a puff of wind is somebody looking at their comics and go, this is lame. This is lame beyond belief. And they are. And objectively, people are not paying money, because as a Hugo Boss as I might be, I represent millions of people who are looking at this stuff going, yeah, I guess I'm not. I guess Star Wars is over. I guess the Disney Marvel is probably over as well as is most of this other stuff. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all on SubScribeStar for the Halloween special, and Odyssey for the live streaming special. I'll see you next episode.